Hello, everyone. Hello, one and all. John, the Prepared Mind channel. It is Sunday Night Live, and it's time for the zoo. That means everybody is here from YouTube, Subscribe Star, Facebook, X. We got Uman on X, of course. We're all here live right now. It's your chance to wake up the world. Tell them what you think. And I keep telling people, you better speak your mind. Or as my mother would say, forever hold your peace. Now, it is time for free speech, my friends. Not just here, not just now, but for the rest of our lives. We need to stand up, say what needs to be said, and then following that, we need to do what needs to be done. And those days are closing in on us, I think, very, very quickly. Lots of stuff has happened over the weekend. Now, of course, last week, we had President Trump write publicly for everyone to see that he thinks Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, is crazy. And he said because of the bombings they were doing, that's why the world hates him and the world hates Israel. Sounds like Trump just jumped right in there 2 feet. Explained it the way Ricky Ricardo from I Dream of Jeannie. No, the Lucille Ball show, right? You got some explaining to do. Well, he explained it for everybody. It's not just a little bomb here, a little bomb there. It is complete and total genocide and mass murder and war crimes and everything else. But that's not what we're going to start the show off with today. Oh, no. Oh, Sunday Night Live. Right up there, kabam, is a super chat button. That's how you get to be on the screen down here. For example, right? That is our website address for being a premium member, getting a membership. You can come all day long, all week long, and chit-chat there. I don't know if you can chit-chat when I'm not live, but anyways, definitely your website for getting all things prepared, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. Of course, that one, the self-defense, because that's my first topic here is self-defense. If you do a $50 or more super chat donation, and also down in the description below is Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal. And those are the other ways you can support the channel because this channel is guerrilla funded, meaning you guys are guerrilla warriors out there, right? We're not corporate. We don't have corporate sponsors. The closest thing we have to that is coffee from www.cofefe.com. In any event, folks, it has hit the fan. Things are nasty out there. Let's start with the topic, though. We have a big trial that's been going over the weekend, and it is the Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf trial. Now, it's not like it's one versus the other. One has already killed the other. and one side is saying that's murder. That would be the prosecutor prosecuting this death as a crime. The other one says if you go into someone's tent, they ask you to leave 15 times, they refuse, you stick your hand into your bag to where you brought a knife, a weapon to a track meet that you have been barred from, and then you challenge someone to start a fight with you. If they touch you, you can then stab them through the breastbone and into the heart and kill them. So, right, it's a toss-up. Not really. All right, so on this topic, Darcy T is starting off the show with a $50 super chat donation. And when that happens, it buys me a single malt scotch. And this week is the Glenfiddich 18, a very nice scotch. So there it is. I'm going back to the bullet shot glass. Poured that one a little tall for you, Darcy. Salute, prost, cheers, and God bless America. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Down the hatch, and then we're going to get into Darcy's comments. Oh, and to the rest of you, same thing. Cheers, prost, salute, down the hatch, semper fi. doing shots with you guys. Woo! Okay. So Darcy says, my question for tonight's zoo is around the Carmelo Austin case going on in Frisco, Texas. As I'm hearing testimony being brought out from the case, it is becoming clear that Carmelo did indeed murder Austin Metcalf. The self-defense strategy has all but crumbled in light of the eyewitness testimony. My question is, what do you suppose will happen if Carmelo is given life in prison, with or without parole? Will we see the same type of rioting that occurred around the St. George Floyd incident? So let's start with just some of the facts of the case. The prosecution has rested its case. It called a little better than half of its initial witness count. I've heard that they've done about 20 witnesses, but they had about 36 ready. You know, whatever the story is, they made their case. The defense has called a couple of witnesses that I know of, who were absolutely pathetic. I don't know if they've rested their defense yet. I'm not too sure. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. Oh boy, who are the lawyers representing Carmelo? No idea, man. No idea. All right, back to this. So Carmelo was into athletics, but he apparently he was told you're not allowed to be at this sporting event. He didn't care. He brought a bag, a duffel bag, a backpack of some sort, and he had what has become the murder weapon inside of it ahead of time. He went to their tent. There were other people in the tent. He sat down. He was told, hey, you're not allowed to be here. You need to leave. And many people were telling him the same thing. Multiple witnesses. And witnesses to this were both black and white. Black and white. So this is not a race thing, which I'll kind of get into very quickly here. Carmelo has had trouble in school before. Surprise! Not surprised. That's why he wasn't allowed at the track meet. But he showed up at a school event. Now, I get it. When I was a kid, we had knives, we had guns in our car. It didn't matter. We were kids, and that's how it was in the 1980s. But things have since changed. You're not allowed to bring your rifles to school anymore or shotgun. And you're not even allowed to have a pocket knife anymore. But Carmelo had one. And a big one at that. Not a cute little one you can clean under your nails or, open a sandwich bag. Well, I don't know, right? It was a big knife, big enough to kill a human being. A muscular, well put together, strong, healthy young man. So he showed up. Everyone says, get the hell out of the tent. He says, make me. He antagonizes people. He had a chance to leave every time someone said, you need to leave. And he refused. And then he taunted Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf said words to this effect. I'm not going to fight you here. Okay. But he continued to antagonize. It went back and forth. Carmelo had his hand inside the duffel bag / backpack on the knife, blade extended and out already. And the report, the best I could put together, is Austin Metcalf went to push him. One of the witnesses or two of the witnesses, he barely moved from the push, meaning he was braced. It wasn't a hard push. It wasn't a real push. It wasn't even an assault other than he touched him. And within a split second, the knife was out of the bag and in his heart. That fast. Almost as if as soon as Austin Metcalf moved, Carmelo was bringing the knife out to stab him, like a 1-2 punch. So we get into Darcy T's comments, questions. She said the self-defense strategy has all but crumbled in light of the eyewitness testimony. So I've given you some of the eyewitness testimony, but see, to the kids, to the high schoolers, this isn't about race. Because several of the witnesses, at least 3 out of the 6 that were students, that were eyewitnesses to the crime, were black. And they did not paint a rosy picture of Carmelo. Not in the least. All of the students laid out their perspectives, their memory, their witnessing pretty much the same way. Everyone sees things from a different angle, hears things a little differently, but they all had the same story. So this defense, it was self-defense strategy, is bullshit. I don't want to get into the legalities too much, but you can only use deadly force when your life or the life of others or great bodily harm and injury is possible, is happening, right? And that wasn't happening. These are high school students. This isn't in the hood. This is during a daytime sporting event, not at night. Not everyone wasn't standing up and pushing him around and bossing him around and beating up on him. Right? He wasn't being assaulted, so there's no way he could claim that his life was in danger. He felt like his life was in danger. It wasn't his tent, so he can't claim castle doctrine. Right? He was in someone else's tent and was asked many times to leave. He had many chances to leave. Nobody else pulled a weapon on him. Nobody threatened his life. None of that was going on. So that's the eyewitness testimony. So Darcy's question is, what do you, John, suppose will happen if Carmelo is given life in prison, whether it is with or without a chance at parole? I expect the lunatics that are in Frisco, Texas, that have shown up at the courthouse, across from the courthouse, on the courthouse steps, everywhere they can, to chant anti-white slogans, to make this about race. See, to me, it wasn't about race. It was about a piece of shit with very thin skin who didn't like people telling him what to do, didn't like that he wasn't allowed, didn't like that he's in trouble all the time. You know, I keep hearing this shit. Oh, he was an A student. He was this, he was that. Well, if he was so smart, why did he stab someone for no fucking reason other than there's something wrong between his ears? So what will happen if he's given life in prison? I expect it's going to start in Frisco, Texas, in Texas proper. Then it'll spread around the country. I think they will push for George Floyd type riots. I think the media will glamorize it. And part of the reason I'm going to say this is we already have a problem in this country with youths gathering in the hundreds and even thousands all across the country, knowing that they outnumber the police. The odds of them getting caught are very slim as individuals. Some will, but most of them can get away with, well, burning, looting, murdering. BLM. I think that they're going to push for that. I think the media will glamorize it. I think a lot of these youths who are just like Carmelo believe it is their fundamental right to attack others, destroy others, and do whatever the hell they want. It is almost like they have no conscience. They have no morality. They have no sense of what is right or wrong other than what their at the moment feelings are. At the moment feelings. All right, folks, this is how we're starting. Yeah, the summer of love cometh, says Trevor Benson. Now, if you got a question, you got a comment, you got a thought, and the Italian hillbilly is in here. Well, the Italian hillbilly just happens to be one of the founding members of the R Syndicate. He says, I disagree. It's 100% about race. He wanted to kill whites. Okay. for me, it wasn't about race. For Carmelo, it may have been about race. But there were other black kids in that tent, and they were all of the same mind as Austin Metcalf. Austin, who apparently was larger, bigger, heavier than Carmelo, they're trying to say that's the reason Carmelo had to defend himself. Austin was much bigger than him, and he was white. I just know that the people who have jumped up and are screaming support for Carmelo Anthony, giving money so his family could buy a Cadillac Escalade, live in a nice house, and have no money for their son's defense. Now he's using a public defender, and he's getting the value of what was paid for. Yeah. I'm sure that, and see, I don't believe Carmelo wanted to murder someone because they're white. I think, this is just my opinion, I think he showed up wanting to cause trouble. I think he showed up feeling he was dissed by the school. Okay, that's what I think. I just think he found someone that pissed him off enough that helped push him over the edge. Now, I can ask myself the question, John, do you think he would have stabbed one of the other students that were black? And I'm going to probably say no. I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have. I think he would have or could have gotten in a fight with them. I think his intentions are, or his belief system is that blacks are victims and whites are the culprits. I think that he probably believed that. And I know that his supporters certainly do. But you've got to be willing to talk about this, folks. I think we all need to have this talk, because I thought about it. Yesterday, I spent some time in a time machine going back to the 1980s. And I watched my basketball team, the Los Angeles Lakers, from when I was a kid, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11, right? You had Kareem, you had Magic Johnson, you had Worthy, you had Scott, you had Cooper, you had Kurt Rambis with his fucking crazy ass birth control glasses. You had the whole team there, right? And I watched it with the Celtics, and the Celtics had, of course, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and DJ. Right? These are the two teams I watched as a kid. And there was always this shit about whites can't play basketball the way blacks can, all that crap. But you listen to these guys talk. Their interviews from back then, the media actually tried putting race into this thing, because Larry Bird's white and Magic Johnson's black, and they were adversaries in college in the finals, the championship, and then they became adversaries in the league, or rivals, if you will, and they're incredible friends, right? And to hear every single pro talking back and forth, and to hear the intelligent conversation as well as the humor about Larry Bird being white, not being able to jump, right, being slow or unathletic, yet he still managed to kick everyone's ass. Shit like that was just interesting, right? But it's like the 60s, this is where I'm going with this. In the 1960s, we had the Martin Luther King crap. We had and I say crap because it led to race riots. We had all of this race riot crap in this country in the 1960s. In the 1970s, it kind of faded out. We got to the 1980s when I was, 10 years and older, and race wasn't the issue, right? Yeah, we all knew what color we were. No surprise there. But it seemed like the 60s had been forgotten, all those problems, and we're just enjoying the fuck out of life. And then we get a couple decades into the future again, and we get to none other than Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro, Obama, who brings up race. And there was a fight between a criminal and someone trying to protect their neighborhood, and Obama made it a racial issue. And they brought race up, and it is once again been an extremely difficult subject because we as white people are expected to shut up and accept everyone else's version of events. And it's just not true. It's just not true. You know, it's I believe there is a percentage of people in the black community who blame everything on the whites. And I don't know how to get away from that. But politics, the media has put it out there, and they've successfully got us in each other's throats. And so you do what? You look around and you go, okay, I see a problem here. What's the cause of it? It's a mess, folks. It is an absolute mess. Big Dan the man steps in with a $5 super chat wanting to engage in the same conversation. And he says, what is interesting is black people make up 13% of the population, but commit 50% of all crime. What the fuck is all that about? Bad parenting? Well, let's start with 50% of the crime coming from not 13% of the population, but about 6.5% of the population. Why do I say only half of the 13? Because, well, the males, they're half the population. So only half the black population is male. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't black women who are criminals, because there are black men, white women, black women. It doesn't matter, right? But crime statistics are out there. Now, what is alarming and has been discovered and is now being investigated is that people who are Hispanics, blacks, Africans, Middle Easterners, Far East Asians, they're being called white in the police records, inflating the number of white criminals that are being talked about statistically. It's a fucking mess. But the second part of your question, Big Dan, and thank you for the great support, is that bad parenting is a part of it. It's a huge part of it. Now, what I've done in order to try and temper my attitude, my belief system, is I have listened to these radical, crazy, anti-white, racist motherfuckers out here. And I've listened to blacks who are conservative. They are thinkers. They are philosophers. They're rational-minded. And they're making their case in social media as well. And they aren't happy with Carmelo. And they aren't happy with his supporters. And they're not happy with black culture in general. And what I mean by that is they pointed to a lot of the things that Dan is talking about. What is the problem? Why is 6.5% of the population committing such a high percentage of the crimes? Now, let's take what I just said and deduct that from that 6.5%. So black population, 13% of the overall United States population. 6.5% of that is the males. And then, well, 6.5%. Let's break that down to the approximate half. 3% of that is conservative, and 3% of that is Democrat. So now we're down to 3% of the population committing half of the crimes. That is not adjusted for all of the bullshit police reports saying people who are obviously black or African American have committed those crimes. So we have a disproportionately small sector of the country that is resulting, or their crime rate is so high, they're 50% of the criminality. That is off the charts. So you can't get mad at people. You can't get mad at Dan. You can't get mad at Chin. You can't get mad at me. You can only get mad at the statistics. And you can argue the statistics. You can debate the statistics, but you can't change the fact that such a small number of the population, 3%. You can go, oh, it's not 50, John, it's only 40. Other people will argue 60. I'm just going with their numbers. This is the problem. Now, In my world, I've got crews of people who are from Central America. I've got crews of people who are from Mexico. I got crews of people who are African Americans that work on a variety of jobs with me. I don't have a problem with any of them. All of them are well-spoken, polite, hardworking. Right? I don't deal with this 3% shit. I just don't deal with it. Not on a regular basis or a personal basis, so I have to learn through what others are saying. So I listened to people who are African American, what they have to say about where this type of thinking and behavior comes from. And they start with broken homes, bad parenting. They get into things like welfare, the entitlement mentality. You know, mama's been on welfare my whole life. And because of that, right, she's getting money from the government because we've been put down, held down, beat down, held back, discriminated against, everything. And that's why we're poor, and that's why this and that, and that's why they're this sense of entitlement. You owe me because of that. And so I understand that argument. I do. I understand that. But in Carmelo's case, it's my understanding that he's got mom and dad, and that they're not from the ghetto. They're not super poor, right? They weren't fighting that fight. Very fascinating to me, right? That's not the excuse in Carmelo's case, but it is an excuse that's been put out there. Or instead of using the word excuse, let's use the word the reasoning, the explanatory reasoning for why is it such a significantly small percentage is responsible for such a huge percentage of crime. You know, it's incredible. It truly is. So is it bad parenting or lack of parenting? Yes. Is it an entitlement mentality? Yes. How about this? The communities themselves do not police themselves. Right? The black community doesn't police itself. Okay, there's it doesn't, you don't see kids doing bad things and then you holding them socially accountable by going out in the street and telling that kid, knock that shit off. You don't destroy property. Take care of your property. Be nice to people. Where's your dad? Where's your mom? I'm going to go have a fucking talk with them. Now, I have seen how that works out because I've seen a lot of these fights where you got two adults, whether they're young or in their 30s or in their 40s even, screaming and yelling at each other, both believing both sides are right. And we have that a lot. That is not a race thing, by the way. It's just people think they're right. But you know that if 2 people, 3 people, 5 people went and said, look, you dumb bitch, or look, you stupid ass, your kid's the fucking problem around here. Either you fix him or we're going to have to do something about it, whether it's with him or with you or both. There you have it, right? That's self-policing. And I've seen that in action. I've seen parents banging on other parents' door, giving them shit. Now, of course, back in the 80s, right? And we were a white community. And some kids, and I don't know who, well, got in trouble from time to time, screwing around, being kids, because that's what kids do. Kids do screw around, but you can't wait till they're fucking murdering people to try and correct the behavior. Now, I digress. Bad parenting. One of the things I did notice, listening to a lot of these NBA greats from the 80s, not just from the Lakers and the Celtics, but all the different teams out there that, they're superstars, is all of them had a great sense of humor. They had a great sense of humor. They would joke and laugh about this shit. All the stupid shit they said, all the racist. Not by today's standard, they call it racist. Back then, it was jokes, for fuck's sake. One of the main ones was Larry Bird would complain to the other team or the other team's coach if they had a white guy defending him. And he'd say, you're just being disrespectful to me, putting a white guy on me. It's a joke, for fuck's sake. And everybody laughed about it. Today, there's no laughter. There's no humor. Everything is serious. Everyone is a fucking victim. So, in other words, Big Dan is I think this is a very important question. What the fuck is all of this about? This crime. So bad parenting, a sense of entitlement, no sense of humor, community. I fucking hate this. It takes a village shit, but a community can help and is a component of what keeps people in line. And I think I'm going to wrap up my opinion on this, Big Dan. And folks, if you've got something to say, super chat buttons right up there. Gets you on the screen just like Big Dan. And your super chats help support the channel. We've got lights, we've got scotch, we've got tuna fish and spam, and we've got a lot of bills to pay. And so you guys are funding the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, this one came from someone, it was a black lady, probably in her early to mid 30s. And she sounded like she was very well educated. Very well educated. Right? She spoke very clear, concise English. And she said, the music, the culture of the ghetto, and the culture of the criminal element, it is disgusting. I'm going to use my words for this. It's disgusting because it's all about criminality and drugs and guns and shooting people and hating cops and hating other people and robbing and raping and murdering and fucking the hoes, right? And being a whatever. And I've said this even from the fucking 80s, my friends. I said, this is not what the world needs to hold up, right? It is not reverential. It is not good. It's degrading, I think, to blacks and what black culture is and should be. But what the world sees and what the world hears is what's on the news and what's on the fucking radio or the radio that's driving by, right? It is the lowest of lows. It is the lowest common denominator, not just within America, but within the black community itself. But it's pervasive and it's glamorized as if this is what you should aspire to be. I mean, how low can you be that you look up and go, I want to be a hoe, or I want to be a pimp daddy. I want to bust a cap in someone, right? Because they also see these rappers as a success story. So to be successful, you need to have some hoes and bust a cap in someone's ass every couple of weeks. So you got your street cred, and I didn't do nothing, and I'm a victim, and all this shit. Crazy business. So it is more than just bad parenting, Mr. Dan, but thank you, and thank you. Now, back in the early 90s, we had the Rodney King beating by the LAPD. They beat the ever-loving shit out of him, and it was recorded on a camcorder. Someone had a camcorder. And look out. We had Los Angeles went to shit. Well, during the 2020 Summer of Love with our good buddy St. George Floyd, they said, look, we're coming out in the suburbs. We're going to come out to where all you white people live. That once again turned into race. But during the Rodney King riots, we had rooftop Koreans. So now Corey says, I predict rooftop rednecks. I think that it's going to happen. I think people are clued in. I think people are well aware. And I think there is going to be a resistance to this sort of bullshit. And by bullshit, I really mean this sort of bullshit. We all know the little fucker is guilty because the evidence has now come out. Even the video in the court was shown, and the jurors saw it. And by the way, there are no black jurors. Oh, I left this part out. There are 0 black jurors because every black jurist or potential juror or jurist was asked, can you be impartial? Right? Is race factoring in this? And all of them said they can't be impartial. Like, I don't know if I can put a brother in jail. It's just, so we've got that, right? They're going to be able to claim, well, Carmelo was well within his right to defend himself. And then, that it's just going to be that type of shit. It really is. It's going to be that type of shit. So we're going to have rooftop rednecks and God knows what else. Michael Rondo checks in. Anyways, Darcy, thank you for the great topic. Thank you for you guys standing up. We got a super sticker to support the channel from Michael Rondo. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Good. Now we're going to move on to, Chin Music. And Chin Music has done a rather large super chat, as he likes to. He did a $55.56 super chat donation. Of course, that gets another 18-year Glenfiddich single malt scotch. And your funds, my friends, support the channel, the efforts, the message, and keeps the light on, pays our subscriptions, our server fees, and other expenses. Thank you. So we're going to get now to Chin Music. Thank you, brother, very much. Semper Fi to all means always faithful. Like mother's milk. Okay. Part of my problem is I've been drinking too much this weekend. I don't know if you can drink too much. Let's just say I had my fair share. Okay. Chin Music writes, and this is another big topic. Just for context, I voted for Trump 3 times. There's a lot of support out there for Trump. He says, but I can't sit by like an orange wig sycophant acolyte cult member, well said, and not pretend this go-around has been a complete 180 from the original Make America Great Again agenda. I agree. I agree that Trump has done a 180 from what he said he was going to do. There was an interview that Trump did before he called it off because he was tired of listening to the rather rude and one-sided Democrat news person. And I get it. But, a lot of people said, you said no new wars. And Trump said, well, things change or he made an excuse for it. I get it. I get where we're all at with this 180 degrees because we are told no, and I will. Then he says, I won't, and doesn't. It's tough. And so Chin Music says, I worship no man. And that is a good practice, psychologically, spiritually, etc. He says, I only support policies, not policy makers. But motherfucker, these mega loyalists and going at me harder than the left ever has. What he's saying, folks, is he is debating and talking with other Make America Great Again Republicans. And he's saying they're less open-minded. They're making terrible arguments, worse than even the Democrats. And I got to tell you, man, I find that difficult to believe. But I can say this in support of that statement you made. Harder than the left ever has. I have heard some Republicans make the most ridiculous fucking arguments to support what is happening around the world. And it's off the hook stupid. And I just want to say, I thought you were smarter than that. I used to respect your intelligence. But you just demonstrated to me that you're easily propagandized. And you're incapable of individual, independent examination of facts, testimony, opinions, and you seem to not be aware of agenda. And so I don't listen to him anymore. In fact, earlier today, I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk to people that at least can talk back and forth on a topic. They may not agree with me, but at least they can talk back. I know what you're saying here, Chin, is you start talking to somebody and they refuse to listen to anything. And then you say, can you at least agree to these sets of facts I'm going to lay out? And they're like, no, I don't believe anything you have to say. It's like, wow, here we are. So I'm going to go back to Chin Music's comments here. He says, and over one policy disagreement, right? That's how hard they'll go after him. One policy disagreement, they attack him. He says, now they won't even acknowledge Dana White and the Ultimate Fighter Challenge, UFC, in their blatant hypocrisy with Sean Strickland being barred from the White House UFC event. Strickland has previously been a controversial lightning rod for anti-LGBTQ LMNOP pedophile comments, to which Dana White defended him, saying, quote, I don't censor my fighters. They have freedom of speech. I'm going to stop right there. Sean Strickland is very loud. He's very vocal. He's like, I don't want any of this faggotry around my kids. It's wrong. It's evil. It's bad. It's backwards. It's not good. And Dana White said those things. I don't censor my fighters. They have freedom of speech. Well, now we can call bullshit. And that's exactly what Chin Music does. On that, he says, bullshit. They do censor speech, or rather, they do have freedom of speech until the fighters speak out against you-know-who Netanyahu and his war pigs in Israel, the IDF, Mossad, etc. He spoke out against foreign country and our country, and the right censored him. Now, Sean Strickland did that. He spoke out against Israel. And he spoke out against our country's participation in a military effort that has resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, many, many, many of them innocent, both in Gaza and Lebanon, but also, of course, Iran. Israel is using military intelligence. Israel is using military weaponry supplied by the United States government, not the United States of America. Once again, I always like to make the distinction between the country, the United States of America, versus the city in the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., which is not the United States of America. That is the United States government. So, yeah, so Sean Strickland spoke out against Israel, spoke out against or giving his support to not Hamas, not Hezbollah, but people's right to breathe and fucking live, right? I get it. Because I hate terrorists, folks. I hate them. I do not like the Muslims, and I do not like the Talmudists. I don't like the Mohammedans. I don't like them because their belief system is a cult that uses evil and lying and tricking and raping and murdering to get their way. And I can't support either of those sides. But I do support the right of people to live. The innocent people who have been just slaughtered, and it's continuing now. Let me continue with Chin Music. He says, fuck the Republican Party. Enjoy your permanent minority status, you sellouts. Listen to retired Colonel Douglas McGregor and his YouTube video called, quote, The National Conversation. The great noticing continues with my full support. Oh, the noticing is continuing. And it's not an American phenomenon. I want everyone to notice this. Right? It is not an American phenomenon, meaning the noticing that Israel is doing all these things, the noticing that the Republicans and the Democrats are taking money from political action groups, committees, donors, etc., outside our country. Outside our country. They're not our allies. They're not our allies. The great noticing is a worldwide phenomena. It's a worldwide phenomena. And I want to say this. For years, folks, Like I started the channel in December of 2013. And I know there's actually people that are still here. After 13 fucking years, we're still here together watching the escalation of SHTF getting higher and higher and higher. So for years, folks, I was asked, who are the bad guys at the top of the power structure? And I've been having this conversation. People are like, oh, it's down here at the city, it's at the state, it's the federal government, it's the international governments, this and that. But truly, you get to where you can't see who it is. The puppet masters, you can't see their hands and know their names. So for years, I've asked, who are the bad guys at the top of the power structure? And for years, I've said that those at the top own banks. They own the mega corporations. And the mega corporations own all of the smaller corporations, right? Kind of like BlackRock and Vanguard are financial corporations that collect everyone else's money and then they invest it. So they control all this money and then use that money and power to influence those corporations, the type and quality of their products, the people that they hire. They influence their marketing decisions. Unbelievable. For example, Budweiser, a massive corporation, an American iconic company, from the way their beer can looks to the Clydesdale horses to having the blimps and all of the other, everything out in front of us. Drink our beer, right? Bud Light, right? All this, Budweiser. Well, they get bought up by InBev, a European corporation, where these bankers have unlimited control. They control the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City. They control the European Central Bank. They control national banks. They don't give a fuck if it's European or North American or Asian. They don't care. If they can control it, they do. But what they've done is they have gone to Budweiser and they said, we want you to hire these diversity, equity, inclusion fruitcakes into your positions of authority. So they put one of them in marketing. And this ridiculous liberal dumb bitch says, I know, let's get an influencer who is a male but dresses like a girl, an obnoxious, stupid fruitcake fuck of a girl at that, who influences children, and make that person the spokesperson for Bud Light. Remember that fruitcake? And then people were like, wait a minute, this person influences children. You're trying to get kids to drink beer? You know, and by kids, I mean under fucking 10 years old. Right? So Budweiser destroyed its image. Coca-Cola said, be less white. That makes me fucking thirsty. No, it doesn't. So, right, here we are. This noticing, we're noticing, right? We're noticing. So I've been asked, who are the bad guys? For years, I said they own the banks. They own the mega corporations. And they now are showing how they own our politicians, because people are now tracking that and putting it on social media. Who is donating money to who? And what are they buying and getting with that? Well, in the last few months, the noticing has become so obvious. And shit, I mean, for years, I've talked about it. I talked about it with Chin Music when I met him. I've talked about it with subcontractors that I work with. I've said, take a look over here. Check out that bit of history there. And people, not me, not just you, but people everywhere and around the world, from the Netherlands, where Rami Marish is at, all the way down to Australia down under, we're feeling the sting of this control. We're noticing who is making the rules, who is influencing the decision makers in government and corporations and banks. Right? So I've decided now the cat's out of the bag. I can share my thoughts. Right? I've used both older and then more modern examples. Right? But many people, when they hear the words Israel or Jewish, they close their eyes again. They're afraid. And people, folks, there's two great motivators in life. Two great motivators in life. Greed and fear. You would think greed, the opportunity to become rich and powerful, it is the number one. No, it's not. It's only the number two. It is the number two motivator of humans to get what you want and be successful at it. The number one fear is fear. The number one motivator is fear, I should say. Fear. Israel fears being exposed. So when you notice, they attack. That is their fear. They fear the world waking up. They fear the world realizing the Holocaust is a fucking lie, a disproportionately blown out of history lie. Everything's a fucking lie. Everything the books say is a lie, unless you have not just the school book, but corroborating historical examples, most notably from that period, right? I don't want to read a book written in the 90s or 2010 about World War II and the Nazis and the Soviets. I don't want to read what someone has to say about it today. I want to know what they said about it back then. Back then. What did they say about the Nazis before World War II? Hitler was man of the year. Hitler looked at Germany and said, transgenderism, homosexuality, prostitution, child prostitution, and other things that were being done in Germany to destroy Germans' culture, law, history, etc. He said, this is bad. And so they were removing that. And for 8.5 years, 8.5 years, Hitler told the Jews of Germany to leave, get out. We don't want you. You're bad. You've ruined Germany. You've hurt things. And the reason I bring that up, the 8.5 years, is because Bibi Netanyahu came out and said, was Hitler nice enough? Did Hitler give us a chance to leave? Did Hitler tell us no? So we're just bombing the shit out of Gaza and bombing the shit out of everyone because Hitler didn't do it. Hitler didn't give everyone notice. Well, and actually he did. He actually did. 8.5 years, Germany told them, get out of our country, we're done with you. They burned the books. Folks, those weren't books on philosophy. Those weren't books on mathematics. Those weren't books that were good for the Germans. Those were books on pornography, homosexuality, transgenderism, and that's why they were burned, because they looked at them, and I'm sure many copies of the Talmud as well, because they saw them as anti-German. So we've got to stop being afraid. And people, when you tell them the facts, they'll close their eyes. Ask them to wake up, open their eyes, stop being afraid. Look at real history that was written in the 20s and 30s. Now, of course, after World War II, that's when Germany and Hitler and the Nazis really had the book thrown at them, to use a term, right? They threw the book at them, right? You guys are the worst people on the planet. And the Nuremberg trials were headed by Jews, by the way. They did not like what was done to them. And so they went and they had a melee, folks. And then the Holocaust story was born. The lies started. It became part of indoctrination. My mother and father, born in 1947, 1949, grew up. By the time they got to grade school, the propaganda was over 10 years old on what was done and why it was done and who were the bad guys. And they are the most heavily indoctrinated people on the planet. That generation is known as the boomers. The boomers are having a hard time letting go of the past. They're now old, 70 years and older. The boomers are. And the Israelis are very upset, and the people in control of the banking system are very upset that the boomers are going away, because my generation, Gen X, is waking up. Some of the millennials are waking up, and Gen Z appears about half of it is wide fucking awake. So understand, folks, you're not the end of the intelligence or the strength or the virtue that is those who have morality, decency, and want the truth out there. Gen Z, which is the generation of my children, half of them are hardcore awake. So it's okay to wake up. It's okay to share your opinion. It's okay to talk. It's okay to stop being afraid. It's okay, and I recommend helping others wake up, open their eyes, because closing your eyes doesn't make the monsters go away. You can't go, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that because, it's bad. It's bad. You're not allowed to argue about that. What it does is it allows the monsters to keep being monsters when we don't stand up to them, when we don't. Now, we've gotten almost an hour into this show, and I've gotten 3 super chats done and not much more. Now, let's do this. We've got some great stuff coming up here. I've got a great bunch of topics. You guys have been awesome. We've got a big show, 250 people live. Please share that internet address at the top. Copy it, paste it, email it, text it, whatever it takes. Get it out there. People need to wake up. I've got more topics to talk about. And Remy Marsh from the Netherlands comes in with an €11 super chat donation. Thank you, Remy, very much. I hope all is well with you in the Netherlands. Now, Europe has been under siege with these illegal, low IQ, inbred dumb fucks from around the world. And Remy, I hope you and your family, those you care about and love, stay safe. We have nothing but trouble coming from these people. These people pretending to be, how do I put this? People pretending to be victims. People, it's what's going on in Europe is worse than America. It's worse. Now, in America, they've discovered that the India H-1B visa system is a massive fraud. And they've now busted the ring, right? Now, a U.S. diplomat, former U.S. diplomat, says 90% of applications from India contain fraudulent information. In other words, they're auditing these H-1B visa applications. They're asking to come to America to work here and live here. And they're lying on their application, lying about who they are, what they are, their education, their skills. Everything's a fucking lie. The only answer is deportation. And if we don't get deportation in America and England and the Netherlands and Australia, there's nothing that's going to stop this takeover of our culture, our laws, our world, our traditions, short of vigilantism, folks. And that is starting to turn up everywhere. Vigilantism. Now, thank you, Remy, very much. Let's go over here to Viking with a $20 super chat donation coming out of Canada. He says, hey, they all flock to countries for better lives that happen to be in the Northern Hemisphere. Meanwhile, they all come from climate areas where it's warm all year round. However, we owe them. Yeah, it's rather amazing. Europe is as high north as Canada, folks. And Canada's fucking cold as fuck. I know why the weather seems warmer in Europe. It's the warm water that comes up the Atlantic current from the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, the equatorial area that runs up the east coast of Florida, up all the way and runs right into Sweden eventually, Norway. Anyways, that's why it's warmer than Canada. But yeah, we're all up north. We're all Canada. We're all cold. Yet these people come here for better lives. Now, if I were to go to someone's country because they offered me an opportunity and they offered me a better life, I'd be like, I'll take it. And when I got there, I would be grateful, thankful, polite, and I would want to blend in, assimilate, learn the culture, learn the rules, learn the laws, and live peaceably. There are Muslim retards from all over Africa and the Middle East and the Far East that have shown up in Europe and America. They come saying, I was promised. Promised. They were promised. Someone told them they get to have all kinds of shit. Someone told them they get to be free. No one told them there's laws to follow. It's cold. It's not your culture. There's white people everywhere. You have to fucking behave. Rape is not allowed. Apparently no one told them that. No. Oh, good God, folks. It's a giant shit show. It really is. They come to these countries because they're allowed to. They should not be allowed to. Period. Thank you, Viking, very much for the super chat donation. Your super chats, buttons right up here, gets you on the screen the way the last few speakers have been on the screen. And we have a lot more to talk about. We had Rami Marsh coming out of Europe. There's a big deal going on in Albania right now. Albania is across the Adriatic from Italy. And they have told the Epstein class, a.k.a. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, get the fuck out of our country. Ivanka Trump has now been nicknamed Marie. Remember the Queen Marie Antoinette? They're calling her Marie Antoinette Epstein. So they've nicknamed Ivanka Trump Marie Antoinette Epstein. And Jared Kushner and Ivanka together are being called the new Epsteins. Geez, I wonder why. What could be the connection? I don't know. Epstein, Israel, wanting another island for rich pedophiles to go on vacation and, let's see, rape, assault, beat, torture, hunt, kill, drink their blood, and eat their flesh. Because all of those things that I just mentioned, as outrageous as they sound, are right there in the few Epstein files that have been released. And that is horrifying that, well, we're now being told there's only 2.5 million documents left. A few months ago, there was there's 3.5 million. But, you know, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche came out months ago and said, we're not going to investigate anymore. There's going to be no arrests, no prosecutions. That's it. That's it. So Albania, and I think this is important. Albania said, go fuck yourself. They have been in the streets in the hundreds of thousands, folks. Can you imagine over 100,000 people gathering in the streets in the government sector, the capital, as well as other cities, for going on 8 days and not leaving, not going back to work, not handling their regular responsibility, to tell the government, no, you're not giving this island to them. So very quickly, the Albanian government said, you know what? We smell shit. We smell fraud coming from, well, the new Epsteins, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, Marie Antoinette Epstein, right? They've heard enough. They've sensed enough, and they froze their bank account. And now there are Albanians going to that island and kicking the construction companies off it because it's a national park. And they're trying to develop it for these rich people to go in and just, well, be Epsteins. So they've frozen their account. They're kicking the people out. In fact, they're telling Israelis, get the fuck out of the country. They're kicking Israelis out of Albania. Kicking them out of Albania. We're going to talk more about countries that have had it with Israel. Not just Albania, but other countries as well. So this is an ongoing story. It's incredibly important. Not just for the joke value, but for what do we do? For what do we do? And I'm going to get into this right now because someone sent a very good question. And I'm going to go over here to Yankee Watchdog. And don't worry, Big Dan, the man, I'm going to get to you, man. Super chat donations up here, end up on the screen down here. Yankee Watchdog asked this question. I've been coming to this zoo for a long time, and I thank you very much, Yankee. He says, the one question I never heard the answer to is, when the fuck is go time? And what have I said? I can't tell you when because I'm not God. I can't tell you, well, it's going to be March 22nd, 2027. I can't do that. What I can tell you is you'll know when it's time. Now, in England, we've got a complete, absolute, inbred, low IQ, uneducated, worthless piece of shit named Vikram Digwa. He's not just from India. He is from a subsect known as the Sikhs, S-I-K-H, Sikh. They're the ones that wear the turbans. They don't have the Muslim turban, which is smaller and tighter. They've got the bigger turbans. These people are used to portray themselves as nice. Not Vikram Digwa, not others. Now they're all carrying their ceremonial dagger swords. Vikram Digwa killed a teen in Britain with his ceremonial Sikh knife. Well, guess what? He lied. His mom hid the weapon. His dad and other family lied. They stood there over the top of a man who'd been stabbed in his chest, bleeding into his lungs. For 45 minutes, Vikram Digwa filmed this young man in England who he attacked. And the media and the police wanted to call this young white teen British native a racist. And he was being a racist and using racist words, right? But they couldn't because they knew it was a fucking lie. And it's all coming out now. And the British have been getting pissed about the 250,000 girls who have been raped by people like Vikram and Pakistanis and Hindus and Middle Easterners and fucking Africans and Somalis, all these pieces of shit. Your question, Yankee, is right here. When? The people of England have gotten pissed. They're marching in the streets. They're waving their flags. Their government is arresting them for tweets, for upsetting people, for giving someone anxiety, worrying them. It is now illegal in England to quote the Bible on the street. A former Christian nation now has a king, King Charles, sack of shit, converted to Islam. He is dressed the part. He has allowed Islam into the Church of England. He's allowed Islam into his nation to subdue the Christian people. There is a movement in England and Europe and indeed the Western and white world calling for crusades and Templars and warriors to stand up and to stop taking this shit. Yankee, I'm getting there. Right. The police have put themselves on the side of every immigrant piece of shit, and they refuse to help anyone who's white in the presence of these pieces of shit from other countries. And I'm calling them that because that's what I see. That's what I hear. That's how they act. These are not English. They're not British. They're actually telling people in England, people like Vikram, male and female, this is our country now. We own your country. It's our country. It's our culture. It's our religion. We're going to have Sharia law here, and we're going to own you. You're going to be kicked out or killed. You're asking, Yankee Watchdog, when the fuck is go time? The people of England are very close to a revolt. Go time in England is very close, which means go time everywhere is getting very, very close. We're starting to see that the people who are above our vision, right, these people, they're coming into view. They're being discussed. It's not just Bill Gates and George Soros. They're the lapdog bitches of the power elite who normally exist so high you can't see them. These aren't the billionaires. These are trillionaires that own literally the world banking conglomerate. The Federal Reserve Bank in the United States of America is not American. The United States banking system is the Federal Reserve Bank. It's owned by foreign banks. Those foreign banks are owned by the mega billionaires and trillionaires. Normally, we can't see who they are, but we have a few names. One name that stands out head and shoulders above the rest is well known by everyone, and I really believe truly they're the ones at the top. That would be the Rothschilds banking cartel. Epstein himself, in his emails that are in the Epstein files, refers to the Rothschilds as the people he works for, the people that pay him, that loan him money, that give direction to him. I know Israel and the Mossad, the IDF as well, but he knows who his masters are. That's how close he was to the top. He couldn't tell them what to do. He couldn't do this or that. He just knows that he's the bitch doing their bidding. Those are the people. They're the ones who are in charge of this. Go time is coming. And I want to tell you this, and I want to give you a little bit of good stuff here. Vikram Digwa, piece of shit, who stabbed Henry, murdered him in cold blood, laughed at him, scorned him, filmed him while he suffered until the police showed up. What a piece of shit. Vikram's now in prison. He's being held. The reason the British police, the reason law enforcement and the courts don't want to prosecute Sikh, Hindus, Muslims is because if they do, they get sent to prison. So they don't want to arrest them. They don't want to prosecute them. They don't want to find them guilty. They don't want to sentence them. And this is why Vikram Digwa has now been attacked in prison. He had boiling hot sugar water thrown at him. You know what that stuff is called? Prison napalm. Because sugary water sticks to you. And it holds the heat against you and it fucking burns you. And I believe that is exactly why they don't want to put these people in jail. Is because the English prisoners will fucking murder them because they're pedophiles. Because they're satanic and evil. Because they're fucking rapists. The English government doesn't want those criminals in prison because, well, number one, they can't rape little girls while they're in prison. They can't stab innocent British people. They can't terrorize the British people if they're in prison. And folks, prison justice is an actual, real, powerful deterrent. I've laughed about this a long time in my life. I'm like, prison. 3 hots and a cot. You get to relax, go do some workout. You don't have to worry about nothing. The government will take care of you, right? You're in prison. The deterrent is, I don't want to have to fight for my fucking life every day. I don't want to fight off people that want to steal my food. I don't want to have to join this or that gang to protect myself from that and those other gangs, right? Prison is a shitty place to be. So they've protected these fucking people like Vikram or whatever the fuck his name is, so they don't have to go to prison because they will punish you. In prison, there is no question about whether or not vigilantism is the answer. And it does work, and it is a deterrent. If these fucking turban-headed camel fucking rapists and murderers knew they were going to prison and they were going to stay there and they were going to get killed for what they've done, they would not commit these crimes. Now, in England, the time is coming, in my opinion, when vigilantism is going to sidestep the crown courts and foreigners are going to beg not to get out of prison, but to get out of the streets and get back to their homes they came from. When you ask, when the fuck is go time? The only answer I can truly give is it's coming, and you'll know. Because I don't know exactly when, because it's when people snap and they've had enough and they take the law into their own hands, because government is 100% absolutely fucking failing us. Period. When that happens, it's go time and it's done. It's done. And people ask that a lot. They go, when is it going to happen, John? It's coming. If you can't sense it, if you can't feel it, look at the Islamization of Texas, Michigan, New York, especially New York City. Look what they're trying to do and say. Look how they've stepped into our culture, into our world, our government and lives. They fucking kill people all the time. The truck drivers that are not American, can't read English, don't speak English. Look at all the people they're fucking killing accidentally. And they don't give a fuck. It's just part of being on the road. Look at the people in Israel, how they are just absolutely rabid to kill Palestinians, Lebanese, Persians, everyone. And by the way, the Gaza genocide is not new. The Gaza genocide and the hatred did not start after Netanyahu's October false flag and murders and lies. And the October attack was not, folks, it was false flag. It was allowed to happen. But this attitude towards the people of Gaza, and therefore the response, the Gaza attitude toward the Israelis, has been a problem since 1948, when the good people of Palestine allowed Jews from Europe to come in as immigrants. The Jews immediately created not one, not two, but 3 terror groups that ultimately combined into one that's now the IDF, Israeli Defense Force. But back in 1985, I'm going to use this as an example. Not 2025, not 2005, 1985. That's 40 fucking years ago. An Israeli soldier in Lebanon was being interviewed, and he made a revealing and a disgusting admission. And this is what he said. Here's his quote when talking about people in Lebanon. Not Gaza, folks. Lebanon, way north. Not just out of where the Israelis were, but out of where the Palestinians were. He said, I'm not dealing with human beings, so I kill them without remorse. The evil that is going on around our world, that is anti-European, anti-civilization, anti-white, anti-Christian, it's been around for decades. And the hatred and revenge that is being taken out on Europe and Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, it is systemic. It is the result of indoctrination. And it's all of the evil that comes out of the mentality. These religions from the Middle East that believe it's okay to lie, to commit fraud, to steal, to rape and murder because they're superior, because they say God or Allah chose them. Their gods, folks, are evil people, evil beings that would say, go ahead and kill people. Lie, cheat, steal, rape, murder, it doesn't matter. Convert them or destroy them. Here's the quote again. I'm not dealing with human beings, so I kill them without remorse. That's the belief system of an Israeli towards everyone else he's fighting. Now, as a Marine, what I can tell you is I never believed for 1 second that the people that I was going to be asked to fight, if that time came, I never thought they weren't human beings. I just thought they would end up being the enemies of America, of freedom, of liberty, etc. And you can't kill without remorse. I don't understand that. You don't take glee in happily killing people. Now, I do understand and believe that the only good communist is a dead one. But, right, there's remorse. You're still a human. You just realize that person is fighting for something that is awful. Oh, yeah, communism's awful, folks. Over 100 million innocent people have been killed by communism. So anyone that pushes communism or an anti-Christian ideology that wants to murder us all, I consider them all terrorists. And I hate all these terrorists because they are evil, murdering, rapist bastards. And if you don't see what's happening in England, in Canada, Australia, in America, all over Europe, you're just not paying attention. You're not paying attention to what's going on. Where do we go with this? Oh, and to make the point, right? It's not the one I wanted. It's not the story I wanted. I want everyone to remember. Oh, okay. In the past week, Trump, if you recall, chewed out and then released his feelings and thoughts on Netanyahu. Remember, he said, our president said, Bibi Netanyahu is crazy. Trump told him that the world now hates him, Netanyahu, and the world hates Israel. Right? Well, the sellout U.S. Senate passed legislation they're trying to merge the U.S. military with the Israeli military, folks. Trump this week spoke kindly of the Ayatollah of Iran, and he expressed a willingness to meet with him. Okay, so he's pissed at Netanyahu, and he's talking nice about the Ayatollah. A story's been leaked that the president or leader of Turkey, Erdogan, and Trump have both together shut down Israel's plans to deliver arms to the Kurds, the Kurdish people, to go in and start fighting against the Iranian government. And the Pentagon, and this is very critical, folks, the Pentagon has raised the threat level of Israel to the highest, the maximum level, and said that Mossad and the Israeli government and their military present the maximum threat level to the U.S. government. This is as high as Russia or China, folks. And the Israelis, they're being driven out of Albania, as I talked about, for using corrupt methods to buy a strategic island to control the strait between Italy and Albania and that part of the country. And they're going to use Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump as fronts, use American military might and muscle to push and get and bully their way. Well, those assets have been frozen. Investigations underway. And the Israeli Jewish elected leader of Albania has promised no amount of protest is going to stop Israel from getting that land. So stand by. The question about when does the fighting begin? Stand by, because it's already started in Albania. The noticing continues, folks. Who is in charge? Who's at the top? Who is causing the problems? Who is breaking the law of decency? Who are committing war crimes? Who are committing mass murder? Israel's had a very bad week between Albania, the Pentagon, literally, they're using burner phones because their government-issued phones have apps from Israel that allow Israel to snoop on our military. Oh, not to mention the IDF, the Israelis were caught putting listening devices in the vehicles of our government officials like President Trump and Vice President Vance. It's a bad week for Israel, folks. It's a bad week because they've been caught. Right? The Pentagon raised Israel's counterintelligence threat to critical, folks, the highest possible designation, because Israel is being accused and they've been caught of aggressively spying on U.S. officials, including our elected officials. So according to our government, according to the Defense Department, the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, issued an assessment because Israel is making a, quote, particular effort to surveil top U.S. officials to get information on the Trump administration's internal deliberations and decision making. In other words, they want to know what our government is saying, thinking, and wanting to do in Iran and Lebanon. And so they're spying on everyone. Unfucking real. Unreal. But it's real, folks. It's real. Okay, let's go over this direction for a little while. Dan, Big Dan the man. Folks, we're 90 minutes in, and we got another 30 minutes to go. Your super chats, and especially the $50 claim to buy a scotch, they support the channel, and so I want to continue to thank you for supporting us. Big Dan the man with another $5 super chat says, you hear in the news all about these shootings in Aurora Avenue in Seattle. I live near there and I hear gunshots all the time. Don't go outside late at night. Yeah, our country is very close. This also is kind of a callback. When are we going to know from Yankee Watchdog? Big Dan the man hears gunshots all the time. Well, in Washington, D.C., in the general area, 4 hoodie-wearing Utes tried to carjack a man with a gun. And the guy with the gun, I believe, was 15 years old. Well, they didn't know as they walked up to a man who's standing next to his truck at the curb, who's working in the truck, and he's just dressed like a regular dude. The 4 of them walked up with their hoodies pulled over their head, pulled a gun on him, told them to give them the keys to the vehicle, give them their money, give them the wallets, everything. Well, they didn't know it, but that guy they were trying to carjack was a Marine veteran. So he disarmed the one. Another one of them was taken down by his brother. 2 of them ran away, but all 4 hood rats were arrested. The gun did go off once, though, put a hole in the truck. But once a Marine, always a Marine. And people have had enough. So this guy and then his brother came out, subdued these little rats, these little fucks. But it's getting that much more violent all the time. Whether it's this Carmelo Anthony, I hate white people, we're going to rob everyone. This is our culture, man. That attitude, or whether it's the illegals that are here or the drug dealers that snuck up from Central and South America. It doesn't matter, right? It's incredible. But I went to a cigar shop the other day, and it was interesting. Right? I had met 2 more old Marine Corps Vietnam vets, and when they learned that I was I am, once a Marine, always a Marine, right? They became very animated. One of these guys was so old, so tired, so beat up, that he was telling me about all of his disabilities. He's at 160% disabled, right? But the fight was still in these old guys, that they want to fight and protect America. When the spirit of fighting wakes up, whether you're in America or Europe or England or Australia, it doesn't matter. When the fighting spirit wakes up because government absolutely fails and evil in an effort to protect itself and hold its power, it's going to come unhinged as well. And I think it is. With these stabbings, these murderings, these rapings, I think that the evil's got its I think the evil is doing all it can at this point. I mean, that point, right? Don't go outside late at night. We used to play this thing, Take a Wild Guess. 12 people were shot by 2 gunmen at a family-friendly Ohio festival. 2 gunmen opened fire. 12 people shot. Take a wild guess. Was it the illegals from other countries? Or was it the ghetto rats who think that busting a cap on people, especially if they're law-abiding citizens, right, at a family-friendly festival, right? The odds of someone having a gun is lower because it's a family event. So they went there with the express purpose of killing people. You ask, when is it going to happen? When people finally realize the government is not on their side and the government is not going to help them. Now, what do we got here? Big Dan the Man is back again with another $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, July 4th is our 250th anniversary of our country. Not thinking we are going to make it another 100 years on our current course. We are broke and spending money we don't have on major stupid crap. Yeah, like supporting wars, over 200, or is it over 300 military bases around the world. The fraud is off the hook. It has been now estimated that the government is literally giving our money away to the tune of over $1 trillion a year in fraud money. It's fraudulent, and they're still allowing it. This came up in the U.S. Senate. I believe it was Senator Hawley spit out the words of how much fraud is going on. We're not going to make it another 100 years. Yeah, we're out of money. We're already fucking broke. We're in the hole, not 40 trillion, but $140 trillion. Both borrowed money and people who have paid money in their whole lives, retirements, Social Security, Medicare, all of these programs, social programs, where it's been paid for the last 50, 60, 70 years, and the government spent the money already. It's major stupid crap, and we've got people here who hate us, hate our country, hate our way of life, hate our belief system, hate us for having a golden rule, right? And that is what has made Europe and Canada and Australia and America and England and New Zealand and Japan and Russia. That's right, Russia. Such wonderful places to live, unless you're in a major world war, is because of the Christian belief that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is a moral system that is complementary to others in itself, and it allows for a high trust society to develop. Meaning, if I drop my car keys, someone's going to go, hey, mister, you dropped your car keys. Right? It's a forgiving system. Right? Right? But now you got to give your credit card before you dine, before you go to the bar. They open a tab. They get your credit card. You want to reserve something. You want to go somewhere. The businesses aren't trusting people anymore because people are stealing from businesses. People are putting surveillance cameras in their businesses because people are stealing from them. They want to find it, right? Our system, our country is falling apart. Not because the rules don't work, but because of the people who are immoral that are now here and expanding. Right? So I'm talking about even our government allies. Israel's now on the critical shithead list because they've been spying on us. But I'm going to ask you this question. Was I lying? Have I been exaggerating? Or is Israel really a threat on every level? You decide for yourself. After you hear this, Israeli agents have been caught planting listening devices in Secret Service cars. They've been caught hacking American soldiers' phones. The Defense Department has increased the counterintelligence, right? And so is it any wonder that people around the world are noticing? With respect to trusting other countries, this headline came out. A mainstream media idiot wrote, no, Japan, China, and Turkey are not dumping the dollar as a reserve currency. Well, then who the fuck is? Why is gold held more than U.S. treasuries now worldwide? Right? For 30 years or more, U.S. treasuries, that is to say bonds, T-bills, T-bonds, have been bought by other countries as a safe, reliable asset that they could use for worldwide trade. Now gold is past treasuries, but the media wants you to not believe that. Treasuries were once the gold standard for safety, for liquidity, for settling debts. Now gold is again the gold standard. But they want us to listen to the media. And they want us to believe the media is not going to mislead us the way it's misled us about our greatest allies, how the media has hidden all of the evil. the evil, the lies about communism, neglecting to tell us the truth about communism and what's going on. What a freaking mess. Anyways, the noticing is going to continue, folks. The noticing is going to continue. Israel is committing more strikes on Beirut because they're claiming Hezbollah missile attacked northern Israel. Iran is threatened and is now retaliating against U.S. Military bases. Trump is pissed off, supposedly. Are you pissed off? Right now, this is the deal. This goes back to the question that was asked about when is it going to happen, right? So Big Dan is telling us how they've got gunshots fired in his city, in his town. He hears them from his house, right? Government's supposed to fix that, and they're not. When government gets mad, what do? They use force. They use force, and if it comes down to it, they use deadly force to stop another country or to stop criminals. And they're not stopping criminals. And they're certainly not stopping the genocides that are going on. Right? But Trump says he's not happy. There's the quote, not happy about Israel striking Beirut. And he says he's going to call Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm going to call that guy. Trump has already called him crazy. He already told him the world hates him and Israel. What else is there to say at this point? All we're left with now is action. Do you bomb Israel? Well, they're our greatest ally. Well, now they're on the critical spy list. The I don't trust you fucking list, right? So we can remove money, we can remove support, we can sanction Israel, right? Or will the White House just shut the fuck up because it's Israel? They don't call it the White House anymore. They call it the Weak House. Literally, the Weak House. Unfucking believable, folks, where we're going with all of this. The Weak House. Unbelievable. What do we got? I just talked about money a minute ago. So Big Dan the Man, and he's well past a hat trick here. Dan the Man with a $2 super chat. He says the gold and silver price right now. What the fuck you think? Something I watch very closely. Banks, central banks of nations have been selling U.S. treasuries, bonds, or spending them and not buying new ones, right? They spend them here to buy oil or maybe buy televisions from China or maybe buy cars from Japan, but they're not turning around and going back to the U.S. government and saying, give us some more of your bonds. Instead, they're buying gold. So China at the very top is buying the most gold, but nations around the world are buying gold hand over fist. Yet the gold price right now is going down. Make it make sense. In the silver market, because you're asking about gold and silver, we are not in a year of structural deficit, meaning the world is producing less silver than the world's consuming. It's been that way for 6 years. At least 6 years, the world has been consuming and using silver in technology, weapons, solar panels, industrial uses, as well as some investment use, like just little people like you and me, like, hey, I'm gonna buy some silver this month. I got a couple extra bucks. I'll buy a couple ounces. Right? You spread that across the whole world. That results in some silver, but the mines have been, the commodities have been, the things that we make stuff out of have been neglected for so many years because everyone has been focusing on technology and cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And by the way, Bitcoin dropped down below $60,000 over the weekend. I think it's come up a little bit again. 2 weeks ago, it was at 82,000. Now it's below 62,000. It's lost another 25% just in a couple of less than 2 weeks. Now, here's the deal. Gold and silver. They're not opening more mines fast enough to replace what's being consumed. They haven't done the exploratory work, the permitting work, the setup work, the infrastructure work, all these things to open new mines. They just haven't been doing it. We're going into a structural shortage of materials, not just gold and silver, but copper, lead, zinc, iron, aluminum, all of these metals that are needed to make our world work. But the prices have been going down. Why is that? Well, it's the paper prices that have gone down. That is to say, the stock market, bullshit, plastic banana, good time, rock and roll prices. Because every time people with money invest in that at that level, guess what happens? They get fucked. They get fucked. They're like, we want to invest in this, but they just get shorted by the banks and they drive everyone out of the money. They drive them out of those investments. They're like, why should we play in this when we can go over here and it's probably a little safer to bet in something like artificial intelligence, high tech, Tesla stuff, an automobile company, something real, right? Because silver and gold market is not real. It is a paper market and a paper market only. What little gold and silver there is being consumed by China and sent to China, or sent to from the America to England, the LBMA, and then over to Switzerland for refining if needed, and then on to these other countries that are buying it up. They're driving the price down, and these other countries and people are buying the ever-loving shit out of it, making the structural deficit or shortage even worse. In other words, we're getting kind of like with the violence towards illegals, the violence towards criminals. This is an act of financial and economic violence being committed on all of us with our retirements, with our benefits, with our social structure. We're being abused and we're getting to a point of violence. And there's also a point of violence in investing. There's a point of violence everywhere where people have had enough and there's a shortage. There's a shortage of morality and decency, which is why we're seeing a spiking of rapes, murders, robberies, looting, etc. We're seeing the same sort of looting and robbery going on in the markets. So they can fuck over the paper price all they want. But I've got some of these. And all their looting in New York, London, is not going to take this out of my hand. And there's going to be hell to pay. The bonfire of the shorts, the bonfire of the banks is going to come. And this is how you hold wealth. You also hold wealth with food. We're having inflation going skyrocketing, expect it. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of something. Hold and own real things. You know, real things like scotch. It's real. Stock market can crash, but I've got my muscle relaxant, pain reliever, stimulant, antidepressant. I've got that all right there. Right, stuff you own is real. Gold and silver is condensed wealth. And the people that have been calling for silver to hit $300 and higher by the end of this year have not changed their story, even though we have seen a massive attempt to knock the price down. So the banks, oh yeah, the banks, here we are. The banks, the big eights, Chase, JP Morgan, Bank of America, there's 8 huge, enormous banks that are doing the shorting. They don't want to lose their asses when they have to meet a margin call or turn around and go long. They've got to sell the short at a higher price. If they paid for that short, at $40 an ounce and the price is $80, they're going to lose $40 an ounce. They don't want to lose. So they're trying to knock the price down, scare everyone out of the market so they can get out of their shorts and not lose as much money or maybe no money. And in the meantime, investors who don't know anything are like, stay away from that gold and silver. That's evil, bad stuff. When in fact, this is wealth preservation. Wealth preservation. There we go. Wealth preservation. That was my 15-minute 15-minute deadline, letting everyone know. Anyways, the gold and silver price. I wish I had money. I'd be buying the ever-loving shit out of one or the other. Literally, it's on sale. It's at a huge discount. And it's all a big gain. You see, a lot of people are saying that island over by Albania, which has, if not 100 miles, tens of miles, right? 10, 20, 30, 40 miles of underground tunnels, dozens of underground bunkers already structured, already built in, all ready for use by the uber elite wealthy who need a hiding place. See, they've had their hidey holes around the world: New Zealand, Australia, Greece, Albania, the middle of our country, up in Canada, places that they can hide, where they can get in their bunker because they know the violence is coming. They know there's going to be a Carmelo Anthony, George Floyd riot system coming. They know that people are throwing Israelis out of their countries. It's unbelievable what is going on, right? The fraud that's going on, and people are going to lose their shit. Shit is going to hit the fan, Mad Max style. Literally, Mad Max style. It's coming. I mean, the European Union globalists, guess what they want to do? They're talking to Kiev. That means Volodymyr Zelensky. They want to send all the Ukrainian refugees that are in Europe back to Kiev, back to Ukraine. So Zelensky has more people to throw into his meat grinder, his war against Russia. Is this good? Is this bad? Well, if the refugees that escaped Ukraine are millionaires, they're probably not going to be the ones sent back because they've got money to bribe people. And remember, Ukraine was the most corrupt nation in the world, the number one most corrupt nation. Have no doubts, folks. These people are all evil, rotten fuckers. They truly are. And it's hit the fan. What do you guys want to talk about? Holy cow, there's a lot of great live discussion. I want to, Patty Hamilton. Patty said something nice. Good show, John. Thank you. It's hard, folks, dealing with all of this. When I was 14 and I had my childhood visions of nuclear war and an invasion in our country, I imagined that the invaders were cultures I was familiar with. You know, they were white people like the Russians or the French or the English. You know, some country is going to invade us. And it's that was what I thought. I never thought I would see my own country selling itself out. I never thought I'd see Britain selling itself out independently, but doing the same exact thing. That Canada is selling itself out and bringing in its own destruction. It's like every country around the world, every common law, British common law, or European country is completely by its own politicians selling itself out. And now the leader of Hungary, who said he was going to replace Viktor Orban, who happens to also be Jewish, at first played up pretty good and pissed off the Israelis. Well, now he's taken for the country of Hungary a bunch of European Union money. And he said he's going to start taking, guess what? These illegals in. Once again, same people, same tricks, same lies, same everything are inviting in their destruction. China's not, Russia's not, but the rest of the world that's civilized is. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get nasty. They want all of us to have to fight for our lives not with them, the governments or the people that run the governments or the banks or the investment people. They're going to hide in their islands, in their bunkers. They're going to hide in their estates. They're going to have armed guards, armed protection. But we're going to have to fight for our own lives against not just people who are part of our country, but foreigners. They want us all fighting each other, because then what happens? We all end up killing each other in an effort to stay alive and to get rid of the immoral people. Now, I'm in America. I have a veritable, I would call it a high quality ability to defend myself based on my training, my experience, everything else. I feel very bad for people who live in Canada, like Viking or Remy Marish in the Netherlands, or people down under, because they don't have the same access to weapons and guns. These people, these fruitcakes from these countries, the Indians, they love to swing and wave knives around. Pakistanis, they love to act like there's some cool shit. Reminds me of that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones he's had a rough day. He's trying to find Miriam, and the crowd parts, and there's this dude with a sword swinging it around, and he just shoots the motherfucker because that's what needed to be done. And I don't remember anyone, anywhere, anytime in my life since that movie came out in 1980 saying that was murder. That motherfucker was pulling a sword out, swinging it around. He was going to try and kill him. It's not murder when you're defending yourself, when you're defending your country. Rage Against the Machine, Republic of Alberta. IFG. I don't know. I got Blue Cord Devil checking in with a $50 super chat donation. What a way to end the show right here. $50 super chat. Buys me a scotch. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Blue Cord Devil. And Viking has a very good way of saying this. He says, take down the first world and you run the world. So you, me, all of us, we represent interference in them owning the world because we are intelligent. We are motivated. Did I say we're intelligent and we understand politics, law, history, philosophy? And that's why they're dumbing down the kids, by the way. Fucking kids, they can't even tell you what state New York City's in, literally. They can't read, they can't write in cursive. They've dumbed down the kids intentionally. Intentionally. They can destroy Europe, North America, Australia. They can take over the world, and that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. Blue Cord Devil, poured a scotch, $50 super chat. Here's to you, brother. Peace and prayers, John, Jolene, Uman, and everyone else. Watch your six. Stay calm, stay armed. Hope everyone has been good, been out west looking at properties. Hope to get back there next spring if SHTF doesn't kick off before then. Well, it's kicked off, but I know what you're saying. Mad Max, SHTF, where it's hit the fan and all bets are off. You don't know who to trust, who to believe about anything. We have enemies surrounding us, folks. We have enemies from other countries, other cultures, other religions. We have enemies within our own government, judges, law enforcement, military, elected officials, bureaucrats, not all of them. My point is we don't know which ones are on our side and which ones aren't, because we see and hear about corruption all the time. We didn't even touch the election in Los Angeles and for California governor. What's going on there? The steal is out in everyone's face. They're finding more votes. None for the guys that the people want. Lots of votes for the people that the banks, that Democrats, that people who want our country destroyed. Those are the people continuing to get votes. Over a week, almost a week since the election, And well, in the great state of Florida, which is almost as populous as California, by the way, we can count our votes in one fucking day, in one night. California takes a fucking week. Oh, yeah. It is a shit show, folks. Anyways, folks, we got 5 minutes left. I'll stay here, though, as long as you want with Super Chat donations. That button's right up there. Of course, we got PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and all that. You guys, this is your show, and I really appreciate you bringing me all these great topics to discuss and to allow me to segue in some of my thoughts. And again, my thoughts are mine. Yours are yours. Sharing yours with me, sharing yours with everyone else in the comment section. Just fucking great. Because people need to wake up. Stop being afraid to point at the people doing bad things and pointing out that, yeah, they are the bad guys. Literally, they're the bad guys. They're the evil bastards. You can see what they're doing in wars. You can see what they're doing to countries. You can see what they're doing with this immigration. You can see what they're doing with law enforcement and the courts and the prison system. You can see what they're doing to our elections. You can see what they're doing to our education. How they're trying to bring down our military. How they're bringing these foreign fucks who don't understand the Constitution, who share nothing in common with us, and they're bringing them into our military, into our police departments. These people, these un-American, anti-American, this is just for America, are so brazenly, openly anti-American that they're threatening Americans. Un-fucking real. And they're doing it in England. They're doing it in Australia. And the only time they apologize is when they're caught. And as soon as the cop shows up, they start lying and become aggressive. Thank you, Blue Cord Devil. I hope you're doing well all the way around, man. And good luck finding what you need out west. Here's a comment. The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. Wake up. Open your eyes. But you have a First Amendment. And I used to think the Second Amendment should have been number one. But the First Amendment, the very first thing the Founding Fathers thought when they wrote the Constitution, the very first thing they thought after they got it, they're like, holy shit, we need to guarantee and protect Americans from government that will become abusive, overstep its authority, make up shit, lie, cheat, and fucking steal. We need a Bill of Rights. Not to empower the government, but to protect Americans from it. And it's funny how the government has court cases where it decides which piece of which one of your rights gets to disappear because government has the authority. I'm going to put this up here. Grabbing Gears 111. Remember my fallen brother, and yes, he was like a brother. Spirit of 84, United States Marine Corps, 6 Nighthawks, and 5 returned. Anthony Dugas, never forget you, brother. There is so much. There is so much, folks, that is going on. They want us confused, scared, uninformed, misinformed, right? Being a prepper doesn't mean being paranoid. Being a prepper means being prepared. Chance favors the prepared mind. I want to thank you guys for supporting everything that I do here, which is to wake up America. I do it. This is my real face. This is not artificial intelligence. It's a little older than it was back in 2013 when we first started the show. I haven't quit because I want people to wake the fuck up and realize this isn't a passing fad. What is happening now is exactly what George H.W. Bush talked about when he ran for president. His 1,000 points of light speech, his promise of a new world order, a plan that had been around a long time and that they were certain they were going to get. This brave new world order, 1,000 points of light, 1,000 new world order, and we're going to achieve it. We've been working on it. This long-held vision of a new world order. That fucking clown, George H.W. Bush. He was talking about the plan that is the 2030 plan. That's the 2050 plan. If you go back in history, it's what the John Birch Society railed against and warned about. It's what McCarthyism pointed at. Communism, the Kalergi plan, population reduction, the protocols of the learned elders of Sion. Oh yeah, the protocols are back in social media. The Kalergi plan needs to be there with it. When you see it, share it, because people need to understand what is going on, folks. It was 200 years ago, more than 200 years ago, that Karl Marx wrote his Communist Manifesto, put down his planks of it, and they're all in line specifically with what Israel wants. That is part of Israel's plan, which was what the protocols of the elders of Sion was what the Kalergi plan was, what happened in 1948 when they got their own country, the Balfour Agreement, the banking cartel. This is they're doing exactly what they want. But the problem is every time they've tried, they have failed. But not until multitudes have been killed as a result of this hatred for humanity, this hatred for white people, this hatred for Christianity, this revenge they're trying to get against us. Literally, you had no idea, because I had no idea until I learned that there's a hatred for me and a hatred for you and a hatred for Europe and a hatred for Canada and a hatred for Australia and New Zealand and Tasmania and Japan and America, a hatred for all of Europe and also Russia. That hatred is real, and it's coming from people who are immensely powerful, immensely wealthy, who have infiltrated all levels of government, all levels of business, all levels of education, all levels of military. And that is why I say chance favors the prepared mind. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and of course, if you need help, go to thepreparedmind.club. We don't warehouse anything. We don't sell anything. We just give you links that send you to other companies to help you get prepared. Godspeed. Thank you for supporting the channel and the show. And without you guys, the show is done. Without you guys and your super chats, without you guys, I'm off the air. Without you guys, why should I bother speaking? I could just go deep into my bunker, shelter down, and wait for this shit to really get fucking nasty. But because you guys have supported me for years, because you have shared your thoughts, because we're Americans, because we're human fucking beings that want freedom and liberty, because we believe our right to life is universal, because we're all on the same team, we're here. I've continued to come here and come here and come here. But again, I couldn't do it without you. So thanks again for all of your great support, not just financial, but also you could say personal support, supporting the message. Wake up, get prepared, look around, see the threat level, understand it. It's all up here. It's not an illusion. It's not a lie. It's really happening. These countries are trying to take over the world and destroy us and destroy Christianity, destroy law, destroy culture, destroy tradition, and replace it with the most loathsome belief systems on the planet. If I were an alien from outer space, I wouldn't fucking come here. I'd look at this planet and go, good God. 90% of it is fucking retarded, inbred, belongs to a cult. Woo! Folks, Godspeed to all. Semper Fi means always faithful, and chance favors the prepared mind. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Monday, when we come back in the afternoon. If you want to be a part of it, go to thepreparedmind.club, sign up as a premium member, and we'll be live tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday and so on and so forth. Love you guys. Love you all. Get prepared.